Hello and welcome to another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. On each episode, we take a look at a movie that is featured on Disney+. On this episode, we are taking a look at a 90s favorite as we take a look at Mrs. Doubtfire, starring Robin Williams. And stay tuned for a bonus story as we continue with Robin Williams as we take a look at the short film Back to Neverland. And if you are enjoying these videos, we do ask that you please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified with each new video. But for now, sit back and enjoy this episode of Disney Movie Investigation. So like I said, today we're covering Mrs. Doubtfire. This movie was released on November 24th, 1993, and it was directed by Christopher Columbus. It is based on the short novel Madame Doubtfire by Anne Fine, and the screenplay was by Random Mayhem Singer and Leslie Dixon. The production companies were 20th Century Fox and Blue Wolf Productions, and it was distributed by 20th Century Fox. The budget for this movie was $25 million, and it did a box office return of $441.3 million. In terms of the production, the film was shot in San Francisco, and with the TV station scenes being shot in Oakland, California. The makeup for Robin Williams took over 4 hours to complete, and Robin Williams recounted that he would walk around in San Francisco in full makeup just to see how it would look to the general public. The score was composed by Howard Shore, and there was several deleted scenes for this movie, and this included a subplot between the neighbor Gloria Cheney and Mrs. Doubtfire, and it would even go so far where Mrs. Doubtfire would convince Gloria Cheney to to water her plants in dog urine in order to promote growth. These are all on the 25th anniversary DVD if you do want to check them out. In terms of some alternative casting choices, Blake Lively auditioned for the role of Natalie but was unsuccessful. And Warren Beatty was actually the first choice for Mrs. Doubtfire, but he turned it down. And then Tim Allen was also offered the role of both Mrs. Doubtfire and Stu, but he turned down both. In terms of the cast, we have Robin Williams, who plays Daniel Hillard and Mrs. Doubtfire, Sally Field, who plays Miranda Hillard, Pierce Brosnan plays Stuart Dunmire, Harvey Feinstein plays Frank Hillard, Lisa Jacob plays Lydia Hillard, Matthew Lawrence as Chris Hillard, and Mara Wilson as Natalie Hillard. In terms of the plot, eccentric actor Daniel Hillard is an amusing and caring father, but after a disastrous birthday party for his son Chris, his wife Miranda draws the line and files for divorce. He can see their 3 children only once a week, which does not sit well with him. He also holds a job at a TV studio as a shipping clerk under the recommendation of his court liaison. But when Miranda puts an ad out for a nanny, he takes it upon himself to disguise himself as a British lady named Mrs. Doubtfire, and he also must deal with Miranda's new boyfriend, Stu Dunmire. So in terms of the legacy of the movie won an Academy Award for Best Makeup, and the movie also won a Golden Globe for Best Makeup and Best Comedic Actor for Robin Williams. In terms of a sequel, in 2001, Bonnie Hunt began developing a screenplay for Mrs. Doubtfire 2. Robin Williams was attached to reprise his role, and rewriting would continue until in 2006 because Williams was not happy with the script. The movie was set to be released in late 2007. The story that was pitched was that Lydia was going to college and that Mrs. Doubtfire appears to keep an eye on her. In April of 2014, 20th Century Fox did make an announcement that Mrs. Doubtfire 2 was in continued development, but concerns were being raised about the transgender and LGBTQ community being offended. Cast member Mara Wilson also said that she would not be returning. And unfortunately, after Williams passed away, the sequel was canceled, as Chris Williams said the sequel could not happen without Robin Williams' involvement. However, that is not the end for Mrs. Doubtfire. In 2013, theatrical producer Kevin McCollum spoke about Mrs. Doubtfire become a Broadway musical. In 2018, he assembled a team with previews occurring in Seattle on December 13th, 2019. Previews on Broadway started on March 9th, 2020, before being suspended because of the COVID-19 pandemic. previews restarted on October 21st, 2021, with a Broadway debut on December 5th, 2021. So would I recommend this movie? I think this is a perfect 90s movie, family comedy, that unfortunately we don't get to see many of these anymore because they've kind of gone away of the big blockbusters that we see now. Williams is able to carry the movie both comedically and a heartfelt comedy, because you can really see the caring that he does for his children, and you feel that he has left no alternative than to do this. I really enjoyed the ending as well, as I think it's a happy ending that Williams is reunited with his children, but it's also realistic that they're not getting remarried and like it's all a happy family again. So it's realistic, but it does have that heartfelt. So definitely recommend this one if you have not seen it. So in terms of our bonus story, we're going to take a look at the short film Back to Neverland. Back to Neverland was a 1989 live-action / animated short that was shown at the former attraction in MGM Studios in Walt Disney World, and it was at the The Magic of Disney Animation attraction. This film ran from May 1st, 1989 to September 30th, 2003. The film was directed by Jerry Reese, and Reese was the one that suggested that they pair the two leading actors, Walter Cronkite and Robin Williams. The project actually fell into place even more so when the two realized that they were both fans of each other. In order to sell the project to then Disney CEO Michael Eisner, Reese would bring in voice actor Corey Burton to do vocal imitations as part of a scratch test. Burton would eventually be cast as Captain Hook in the film as well. In terms of the film shooting itself, Reese would allow Williams to improv his entire dialogue as long as he hit the cue points for Walter Cronkite. So in terms of the summary of the short, Robin Williams and Walter Cronkite take a behind-the-scenes tour of how the animation process works. To demonstrate animation, Williams is transformed into an animated lost boy where he has a run-in with Captain Hook. With the assistance of Tinkerbell and the TikTok crocodile, Williams defeats Captain Hook and sends him back to his ship. At the end, Williams initially asks to be transformed back into his real self, but changes his mind when Peter Pan invites him to join him on another adventure. For those of you that have not seen this, it is available in its entirety on YouTube. I remember seeing this in the park. It was actually one of the first visits when I went to Walt Disney World. This was actually a cool film, and it explained to both younger guests and older guests how animation works. So definitely cool, and you should check it out. So thank you so much for joining us here on Disney Movie Investigation. I would love anyone to please leave a comment on what they think of Mrs. Doubtfire, as well as if you had seen Back to Neverland when it was in the parks, what you think of it, and if you have a favorite memory. So as we look forward into our next episode, we are going to stay into the world of comedy as we take a look at two comedic legends, Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin, as we take a look at big business. So until next time, I hope you have a magical day, and we will see you real soon.